All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Wild Within podcast. So glad to have you here with me today as I'm going to be diving into a conversation with Astrid Heystee, who's one of my very favorite humans. She is a business and human design coach, founder of Palm Tree Moments, and also happens to be my beautiful co host for our upcoming retreat in Portugal this June. Astrid uses this incredible personal development system of human design to help people decipher their unique chart, their blueprint, and coach and guide them to discover the power of working with their own energy and unlocking their unique skills and abilities. So I am so excited to jam with you today. Welcome to the podcast, Astrid.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you again. And yes, I'm so excited for our upcoming retreat and for all the magic that we're weaving together.
Yes. Well, I just would love to start by you sharing a little bit about, yourself with the audience and perhaps, share with us a little bit, how did you discover human design? Um, how did this system first begin to have an impact in your life? And just share with us a little bit what you'd like about your background. Yeah.
So, human design found me. That's kind of how I would describe it because was I kind of had a life-changing moment just before that, and I had a plan, and then my plan was completely shifted because I had some health issues that, of course, I did not expect. And I had all this time on my hands because I had to recover from surgery. Now, this was 4 months before COVID, so I was in lockdown before everybody else was in lockdown. And I couldn't really do much, but I could listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's what I did. And I heard it on a podcast, and I was like, "All right, interesting, human design. Okay, let me Google it. Let me check my chart." And I discovered that I was a left angle cross of healing from my incarnation cross, and I was like, "Well, that's a weird thing to see on a
Mm,
profile." And I didn't really fully understand it. So I Googled that little specific bit and it said, your life will be filled with dis-ease, but you will learn the tools to heal or
mm,
to be healed or to heal others. And I was like, wow, how can this system know so much of my story? Because just having this emergency surgery and just, the whole all the events leading up to that surgery before that, like it was such a weird thing that a system would notice. Now, I'm a very
mm,
skeptical person. I wouldn't say that I'm a very spiritual person. I think human design opened the door to spirituality up for me because I was so curious about the how and the what and the why of this system. So I dove straight in, and that opened up the door to me becoming a Reiki practitioner and doing a lot of energy work, really taking an active role in healing my body and to see travel as my medicine and to
yeah.
to discover all these other things that were maybe a little bit hidden in my world as a corporate person before I took the plunge into the digital nomad world. So I've been in business since 2018. I've left the corporate world, and the reason for me leaving the corporate world was really centered around stress. Like I wanted to quit stress. And for me, becoming a location independent and becoming something to really discover, like, okay, how can I create this lifestyle with less stress? And that was the journey that I went on
Mm,
before I met human design. And then human
mm,
design came on my path a couple of years later, and I was like, wow, now things are coming together. And so
mm.
yeah, many years later, here I am, and
Beautiful.
yeah, I'm a Living Your Design guide. And with Living Your Design, it's all about the embodiment side of human design. So I think for me, the biggest lesson that I had to learn was to get out of my head and into my body. And I think that that's what's drawn me to the somatic practices and the
Mm,
somatic side of human design. Because once I start feeling what an emotional solar plexus, for example, to speaking human design lingo, how that felt in my body, then all these mental constructs became a real thing. And because I
Mm.
felt it in my body. So yeah, that's a long introduction, but that's kind of
Yeah.
how I got it, how I got into the rabbit hole of human design.
So beautiful. Yeah, I love how your life journey, the way that it was unfolding, just was so like validated and explained by the system. And it sounds like it really gave you that context for the struggles that you had been through with your own health, And really, I love how you emphasized wanting to prioritize a life with less stress and design your lifestyle in a way that was more supportive for you, and it's like the human design system has supported you in that and understanding more about your own body and centers and energy. And obviously, then you've gone on to teach this system to others and guide others. Yeah. And side note, Astrid and I met in the digital nomad world at Bansko Nomad Fest last year. And so, yeah, we definitely, I love what you shared about travel being medicine. And I want to touch on that a little bit later because those who follow me in this podcast probably know as well. I've been a nomad for quite a few years. And yeah, I'm a big fan of lifestyle design and creating the life that works the best for us based on who we are in our unique blueprint, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
All that being said, I'm curious for you to share just a little bit about what human design is at its simplest form. For those who are maybe brand new and are interested in learning about this system, but maybe haven't heard of it, or maybe they've heard of it, but haven't dived too deep yet. How would you explain it to a beginner?
Well, it depends kind of on the person that I'm explaining it to, but I know that
Mm,
your audience probably is a little bit more familiar with tools like astrology or with tools like Enneagram. If you think about all these old bodies of knowledge, like there's a lot of information that's been passed down from generations to generations, right? And human design is a system that brings systems together, and then in that bringing together, it creates something completely new, and that's
mm,
exactly what a human design chart is. So, just like astrology, it is based on your birthday, your birth time, and your birthplace. And what it is that we kind of look at a snapshot of your energy during the moment of birth. So when the baby exits the womb and enters the atmosphere, it breathes air. That's when we come into contact with the scientific part of human design, which is neutrinos. Now, neutrinos are the most abundant little tiny little particle that is in our atmosphere. And there's a lot of scientific research being done towards neutrinos at this moment. There are like 9 Nobel Prize winners
wow.
um, doing research, but
Yeah.
the scientific
So good.
community is very much focused on harnessing this energy, right? Whereas human design says it's energy plus information.
Mm,
And this information, that's where you can use it to your benefit, right? Because if you know how you operate, if you have an operate manual for your vehicle in this life, which is your body,
mm,
how does your body function? How does your body run its energy? How are you literally wired?
mm.
You can actually use that knowledge to navigate those challenges that we all face, right? It's like sometimes I feel we're all wobbling on this ocean with our little ship, and sometimes we have a wave and sometimes we can
Yeah.
surf the waves and sometimes we feel like there's a tsunami coming at our way, right? And if you know how to handle your engine and how to handle your
Mm.
and wield your little boat across the ocean, that's very valuable knowledge to have. And yeah, so know yourself so you
Yeah.
can navigate this life a little bit more easier.
Yeah, I love that. It's just such a great overview of it, right? That we each have our own unique energy blueprints. And I think, we live in a world that tends to kind of glorify certain ways of being, right? Very masculine, yang, doing, producing, contributing to the capitalistic systems, right? And just being in go mode all of the time, right? And there's, from what I understand and what I know of human design, there's certain energy types that do have that ability to really go at a more consistent pace, but other energy types need to conserve energy more, right? So, yeah, how would you describe the different classifications of energy types in human design?
So first of all, before I jump into energy types, I want to make clear that human design is not a labeling system. A lot of people think like, "Oh, you're sticking a label on me," but that's not the case. So basically, our mind likes to put labels on things so it understands things better, but human design gives us the knowledge that we're so complex because we actually look at so
Mm,
many different layers. So basically, we stick labels so we can later unstick all those labels because we realize we're way too complex as a human being and we're super unique, right? There's literally nobody else on this planet that has your energy blueprint, but also that has your conditioning, because that's the other side of the factor, right? We are not just our
mhm,
nature, we're also our nurture. So if you think about a baby being born at the exact same time in the States versus in the Netherlands, where I'm from,
mhm,
or in India, or in Australia, you get a whole different experience of life, right? Because we
mhm.
also have that nurture and what kind of family we grew up. And we're
Yeah,
both. It's not that we're just a nature, we're
yeah.
also our nurture and we're super complex. So, yes, we're not sticking labels here, but when you think about our energy dynamics, if you will, you can say that there are four different types. Now, sometimes you will see that there are five different types, and that's because a generator and manifesting generator have the same kind of aura fields,
Mhm,
but they are still some differences. So we call that a subtype. So we have our generators,
mhm.
which is the most abundant group in
Woo!
our society. If we look at the statistics, now we have about 45 million charts in the database in the Rave statistics. So we have some statistics that we can work with. And yes, you are a generator, and I am
Mhm,
a generator as well. And so we're kind of like the diesel trains if we put it into a form of a vehicle. I mean, our souls are into this beautiful vehicle that's the body, right? And we move across time and space. And so the generators are the diesel trains, right? They can have this consistent energy. They don't need that much rest in between stops. Just like a diesel train, when they hit another town, they can stop for a couple minutes and then keep on going. But the downside of that, or the challenge of that, is if you want to change course as a diesel train, you need to come to a full stop before you can switch a track, and then you can pivot. Whereas if you think about our manifested generators, they're like a Formula One drive car, right? A race car. They can pivot so quickly
Oh,
and they
wow.
can really, really go fast. But sometimes they go so fast that they just miss a stop or they miss the pit stop.
Um,
So sometimes they need to backtrack because they went a little bit too fast. And that
oh,
is kind of the difference between, one of the difference you could say between a manifesting generator and a generator. If we think about our lovely projectors, which is about 22% of the society, if you think about the rave statistics, these are like the beautiful carriages and they rely on our workhorses, which, are the generators. And they use a little bit of our energy. We kind of have an energy dynamic between them because they run in a very different way. Generators are the only one who have a sacral center, and that's kind of like a motor that generates that energy.
mm,
Whereas all the other types don't have that special motor that's the sacral engine. So they rely a little bit more on the energy dynamics around us, and they have a very different way, but they have this ability to really see people.
mm,
They have like X-ray visions and they can really, really, really see people and
mhm.
processes very well. So their time should be valued and their
Yeah,
attention and their energy should be preserved a little bit. So
yeah.
that's why I say they're the carriages, right? And
Mm, I love
together with
that.
generators and the dynamic between those two types, you create magic together because
Mm,
that's how we
mm,
operate. And then we have another type, which is the manifestor. And the manifestor, it's about 10%, between 9 and 10%. The statistics vary depending on the time. And these are the people who are used to be our king and queens. If you think about
Mm,
the old world, right? They were the ones who set out the vision, who would um, initiate all the plans and projects or the castles that need to be built. But then they don't do all the work themselves, right? No, they have all their people around them who help them in their quests. So they might have the idea, but it's not that they do all the work. And one of the examples that I like to use is think of the Wright brothers. I mean, I love travel, I
mm,
love flying, and the Wright brothers had this idea like, hey, can we fly just like a bird? And when you think about that, they made it happen, right? But it's not that they created the entire travel industry that is now making sure that you get from A to B because you can just book a plane right now, right? No, that's what the rest of the generator did. That's the
mm,
body of work that
mm-hmm.
make things happen. But the person who has
Yeah.
this new ideas and bring these new ideas into the world, those are the manifestors. And then we
Mm,
have one more type, and that is the reflector. Now, reflector is kind of like a sailboat, if you will.
mm,
They just use the energy of the wind, they use the energy of everybody, and they just reflect things to you. Now, if you think about a diesel train and a Formula One car and a manifester who's like a fighter jet, like they're so fast you don't even see them. You
mm.
only see the impact of them if they crash to the barrier of sound. But and then you have the sailboat. If you use a sailboat and put it on a train track, because that's what we do, right? We're not
Yeah.
honoring our own energy.
Right.
It's not working.
Yeah.
If if we put a fighter jet on the water, it's sinking, right? So
Yeah.
we all operate a little bit differently. And if we start to honor more and more how our blueprint works,
Mm,
you can use that energy because you're not fighting against your energy anymore, but you're working with your energy.
yeah. I love that so much. I love the metaphor of those different vehicles. That's really cool to just give that visual and even just for the generator, like as you were sharing that, I felt like, wow, that's so illuminating that it's more difficult for us to switch course. Like we get going and the momentum goes and goes
Yeah.
and goes. It feels true. Yeah, it feels like it's hard to stop. It takes longer to stop and change course and then maybe some other types. And yeah, like again, when you mentioned the carriage, I imagined it's like this delicate, but it's also the people in top of the carriage are kind of looking down and overseeing, right? Because that's also part of the projector's role is to hold space and to kind of see how things are going from above, right? But yeah, if you expect a projector to be producing at the same velocity and intensity as a generator, they're going to burn out so much more quickly because that's just not what they're made for, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what you're saying is actually something that we're going to do in our retreat, right? Because in our
Hmm.
retreat, we really touch down on the foundational work.
Mm,
And what is considered the foundational work in human design is type, strategy, the not self team,
mm,
the signature teams, and then the centers.
yeah.
I mean, there's so many layers in the human design system. And of course, can geek out about all things in the chart.
Yeah.
But really, when it comes down to feeling the effect of our energy in our body, it is the centers that pull the weight in that sense, because the
Mm,
centers are connected to the Hindu Brahma chakra system.
yeah.
Now, maybe you've seen on a package of incense, you see those seven chakras. And human design believes that because we discovered Uranus in 1781, we actually evolved from a seven-centered being to a nine-centered being. So we have nine centers
Mm,
of energy that we work with. And these energy hubs, if you will, they are either open, they're either undefined, or they're defined.
hmm.
And defined means that they have a color in your chart, and there is a planetary activation. So you have energy running in that center, if you will. It
Mm,
generates energy. And that's why you bring your energy to the table if you work in a group, or if you
mm,
were with people. And I think that is so interesting to think about the centers and work with the centers and then connect it back to the body because that's where the magic happens, right?
Mm.
The body is always in the here and now, and the mind wanders, right? The mind can go to the past and it travels to the future and it
Yeah.
can be all over the place. But the body is always here in the here and now. And that's why I love the embodiment side of human design because,
Mm.
yes, there are so many layers that you can look at in the human design chart. But essentially, it comes back to, do you feel a connection with your body? Can you
Hmm.
listen to your energy? And then
Hmm.
one of the biggest factors of the human design system is it's kind of like a way to listen to your body because the body becomes the decision maker.
Mm.
We're taught to really make decisions with our mind, like we're very mentally focused in the society of today. Whereas our body actually has so much to say when we make decisions, because
Yeah.
the decision is essentially, do I have energy for this? Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Right. Right.
And one of the best metaphors that I can give for that is that if you have a key and you have a car and you put the key in the engine and you put on the motor and you drive up the hill, everything flows so easily. Whereas if you have the key and you look at the key but decided to not use it, so you feel the intuition inside your body, but your
Mm.
mind says, well, I don't know, I think we should be doing this or because, that's what expected of us or that's what society think of us. And then we step out of our car, we start pushing that car up the hill. That is the difference. I mean, we can still do
Mm.
it.
Hmm.
We can do everything what we want.
Right. But it's like,
But
why
yeah,
not maximize your natural energy? Why not use the thing in the way that it's meant to be used rather
yeah,
than pushing the car up the hill? Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's all about, yeah, making the most efficient use of our energy and really stepping into flow, right? But this system is
yeah,
about helping us to live in a way that's more aligned and authentic, right? So I'm curious how, like, when we take this to the practical level, and I know this is really what you do with your clients when you work with human design, either in the personal level or in someone's business, right? You're helping them apply these tools in a way that makes a practical difference in their lives, right? What are some ways that you see someone knowing and embodying their chart, how does that improve their lives? Like whether that's in their relationships. Let's maybe go with the relationship theme because that's one area that we're going to focus on in our retreat as well, right? Is that like
yeah,
feeling the energy of other people. Relationship is everything, right? This is such like, I'm
yeah,
stepping more and more into this in my own teaching and personal
yeah.
practice is like everything is a relationship. And so how do you see human design positively benefiting people's relational lives?
I think for me, the biggest thing that comes to mind is communication, right? Because so much in our relationship is thriving on communication.
Mm.
Now, it's one thing for you to feel what's happening in your body and to actually honor your body. Like that's a huge step for a lot of people. They sometimes might feel the gut feeling or they feel the intuition
Mm.
but then they say, oh, I don't do anything with it because the
Mm.
mind is stronger, right? So the shoots and I should have been doing this and maybe I
Mm.
do. The overthinking overtakes the feelings of the body. So it's one thing to really start listening to your body and to honor your body, like to have the enough trust in the
Hmm.
body and the wisdom of the body to actually act on those feelings.
Yeah.
So that's one step. And then the next step is that you can actually share your bodily needs and communicate it with the people that you love and that are around you, or your coworkers, business partners, colleagues, name it, right? We are
Hmm.
all living in relationship with others. Nobody lives on an island here. We're all connected.
Hmm.
But to really have the self-care and self-love to really honor your authentic expression and to really say, "Oh, I'm so happy that you invited me, but my body actually needs a rest right now. So I I'm not going to this
Yeah.
event because my body says no. And to
Mm,
really honor that and to communicate that, but then also be honest about it. And I think that is an authentic way of expressing ourselves
mm,
in a way that the more you start practicing that, and the more you start to be rewarded for that honesty by your
mm,
body rewarding you for taking more rest. Because
mm,
I think that's the secret sauce of human design. Basically, we all have to wait and slow down.
mm. Wow, I
But
love that. Yeah.
to be able to communicate, hey, my body needs this, and human design then becomes a language that you can use to to vocalize your needs essentially,
Mm.
and to have a conversation about what your body needs.
Hmm. I love that. Are there certain types that find it easier to express themselves? Because I think a lot of people will find that that speaking our needs and sharing our truth when it might disrupt the status quo, or it might let other people down. Like a lot of my clients, for example, deal with this issue of people pleasing, and I have dealt with that a lot in the past as well. And being able to speak our truth without fear. Are there certain types that tends to come more easily for?
No, it's not a type thing. When you think about people pleasing, which is such a big topic, right? That actually comes down to our emotional connection to our solar plexus.
Mm,
Now, I think when I look back at my own process, I think becoming more clear about what emotions are and how I feel it in my body, that has been the biggest game changer because I would walk into a room and I would feel angry. I would feel the anger. And I never realized that that was the person's anger, right? But that
mm,
wasn't mine because I felt it in my body. So
mm,
therefore, I identified with it. And because I didn't want to feel it, I would see that that person would be upset and I would start to, bring a tea and you say, can I do something for you? Can I fix you? Can I help you? And so a lot of people don't realize that those emotions are not yours in the first place.
mm, mm-hmm,
And when I learned how to process emotions, how I could, honor these emotions and let them pass through my body instead of identifying with them, because my mind was like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Or, see,
mm,
he's mad because you did this, this, and this. But those are stories from the mind, from our not self, from our inner critic.
mm,
And often that has really nothing to do with the entire situation. This person just has an emotion of anger
yeah,
that probably has nothing to do with you. It's just a biochemical process, and you're just, in the same room experiencing it. But to really honor, like, oh, wait, this is what's happening. These are the
yeah,
stories that my mind are creating. And is it even true that these
mm,
stories are these stories even true? And what am I feeling? And what am I thinking? And to become really aware of that process of what's going on in your inner world, essentially.
yeah. It's such a good tool, like you said, for understanding, what your natural tendency is, right? So maybe we can use this example of the emotional center because that's the one that you and I have different, right? Your emotional center is open and mine is filled, right? No, opposite.
No, no, no.
Okay. I
No, we
forgot.
have a difference. We have a difference in the heart center. The heart center,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're both sacral human with both sacral generators,
Right.
because our sacral center is our decision-making tool. But we have a difference if I look at your chart and my chart, between our heart center. So I have a defined
That's what
heart
I meant.
center.
Yeah. Okay.
You have an
Mm-hmm.
undefined heart. So the heart center is so interesting because this is all about wanting to prove yourself.
Mm.
So a lot of people feel this need to prove themselves. And this is a pressure. It's a pressure feeling of like, I need to do this. I need to do this because I need to prove my self-worth.
I struggle from that.
Yeah. But
Totally
then
honest.
again, for who are you trying
Right.
to prove it? The
So
whole mantra
is that
there.
an open heart thing or is that a close?
Yes.
It is. Okay. Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why is that? Yeah. What is that about?
It's a pressure thing. So We all want the things that we don't have. That is
Okay.
a universal law. So I have a defined heart. So what happens there is that I see around me that there's a lot of competition. So when I
Hmm.
step into a room, there are people who want to compete with me.
Hmm.
And I just see that happen, and people maybe who have a defined heart can relate to that. You see
Hmm.
that happening and you think, why are you all making such a fuss? How can there
Mm.
ever be competition? Like, I can only compete with myself. If you think about all these athletes and Olympic athletes and all these people who do all these crazy challenges and they're not competing for
Yeah.
for somebody else. They do it for themselves, right?
Right. Yeah. I
And that's
love.
just one of the difference between a defined heart and an undefined or open heart. But that's proving of that self-worth is such an interesting theme to look into. Now,
Mm.
to get into full technical detail, everybody is going through a process of a low frequency
Mm.
vibration to a high frequency vibration. So even if you have a defined heart, that doesn't mean that you don't have any struggles, right?
Mm.
There's like the low expression of a defined heart, and there's a high expression of a defined heart. So that frequency difference is there. So it's not that yeah, that if you have a defined center that the teams are not applying to you. It's just more,
Mm.
it just plays out differently. And this is where
Hmm.
we can use human design to really observe again,
Mm.
not only the stories that we tell ourselves in our minds,
Mm.
but also our behavior and our patterns,
Mm.
and especially the patterns that we do without thinking, right? Like all these subconscious patterns that just keep
Hmm.
on returning back to us and returning back to us. And to get some language for that and to
Mm.
see, oh, wait, now I can explain what's going on. And once you can explain it, you can observe it. And once you can observe it,
Mm.
you can ask yourself, is this even true? Do I want to
Mm.
believe this? Isn't it time for me to change my narrative around this? Can I break this pattern?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. It's the empowerment, like you said, awareness. With awareness comes our, yeah, in our empowerment and our ability to make changes in our lives. And this system helps to just illuminate different aspects of yourself. And like you said, it's not putting you in a box and it's not a predictive system, right? It's just simply giving you, like showing you the direction that things might more easily move, or tendencies or patterns that you might more easily fall into, right? For myself to maybe fall into that, trying to prove myself, and then, okay, catch it when it happens, recognize that's the open heart trying to fill itself. Um, do we tend to be attracted to form friendships and relationships, or maybe even, partnerships with those who have the alternate definition to our open centers?
Well, especially in romantic relationships, right?
Hmm.
Opposites attract, and
Mm.
that is so true. And you can actually see that in charts, and it's so funny. I recently completed the entire body of work around connection charts.
Mm.
Now, I am not a relationship expert here, but it's so fascinating to look at our energy blueprints in relationships.
Mm.
Now, the retreat that we're doing, we're also going to be experiencing group dynamics, right? Because
Yeah.
when you think about your human design, and you can actually get your human design on my website if you want. If you go to palmtreemoments.com/chart, you can get it for free. You only have to fill in your birth data, your birth time, and your birthplace. But when you think about one human design chart, that is you when you are completely alone, isolated, probably in nature, right?
Mm.
If you
Mm.
step out away from society, or
Hmm.
you go on this place where you're completely alone for a couple hours,
Yeah.
that's when we see you.
Mm.
But then when we're thinking about relationships, and we actually you live together with somebody, or you're just, have a somebody who lives with you, right?
Hmm.
Then you create this connection chart,
Mm.
energetic bubble.
Hmm.
And so you become a different energetic entity when you're together.
Yeah.
And then add, so we, for example, if you add a third person, so this is also family dynamics, right? Mom, dad, and then a child is born, and you see that the nature of their relationship changes completely because now we're in penta energy.
Mm,
So when we think about penta, it's about group
mm,
energy, if you will.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when we think about the group, the needs of the group is always stronger than the needs of the individual. So that's why you have
Uh,
all these people say, "Oh, I'm losing myself because the needs of the family goes first."
right.
Um, and that's really interesting to look in those penta dynamics as well. Well, if you think about a business or a
Yeah.
school, then we enter Wa energy, and that's kind of like the
Ooh,
bigger groups. So it's
wow.
like big group dynamics. So
Yeah.
human
Amazing.
design is such a big body of work. You can get completely lost in all the details and all the avenues you can look at different ways.
Wow. It's just amazing to me. It truly is. And I guess, okay, maybe this is backtracking a little bit, but can we just talk for a moment about the way that this system came to be? Because from what I understand, it was downloaded into this guy named Ra at some point in the 1980s, and he went away into nature for a week and just downloaded this system. Is that what happened? Because to me it's very interesting how such an intricate and accurate body of knowledge came to be. Like my first question is, well, who came up with this? And the answer is it's like it's too complicated to have been figured out by the human mind, right? It's too accurate and too comprehensive, right? So how did the system come to be?
So once upon a time, there was a supernova.
Yeah.
And what happens with a supernova? Remember that I talked about neutrinos, the most
Mhm.
abundant little particle. So these neutrinos are created in the fusion of the stars, right? So we
Mhm.
get most of the neutrinos here on the Earth, 70%,
Mm.
from our sun because that's our nearest star.
Mhm.
Now, there was a supernova, and this was the first supernova that we observed since we know what a supernova is, right? When we
Mhm.
look at the sky. So this happened in January of 1987.
Mm.
Now, this man, who was an atheist, he's Canadian. He lived in Ibiza, and he was in this ruina in Ibiza.
Mm.
And he had a mystical experience. Now,
Mhm.
this is where my skeptical side is, yeah, like when I heard the story, and actually there's a YouTube video, you can listen to his interview. It's fascinating to hear him tell about this. And the first thing that he says, like, I can even, it's such a weird experience to describe this mystical experience, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to grasp that. It's for me, I'm a very logical person. It was really hard to grasp that.
Right.
Again, I come from a very business background, right? So not being very spiritual at all for me when I encountered this story, it was like, really? Didn't he just have an LSD trip or something like that?
Uh,
But
right.
what happened is that he actually got all this body of knowledge, and it's not
Yeah.
just human design, right? He created
Okay.
human design in a sense because he figured, let's help humans with this first. But actually,
Mm.
he got the knowledge that's called design of forms. So
Mm.
he got the designs of animals, of dogs, of
Mm.
fish, birds, everything that lives, like
Wow.
plants. So there's a whole mammal design as
Yeah.
well out there. But he decided to work with humans. So after his mystical experience, he he was so blown away. But then again, he thought, if I'm gonna share this with somebody, they're just gonna put me in a nut house, right? And so he wanted proof for himself. So he
Mm.
started tracking the moon, actually. He started with
Mm.
the moon and created a connection with, okay, how are the transits of the moon and the knowledge that he's been given,
Mm.
and to see, can I prove it, right? So
Mhm.
it wasn't until the scientific community stepped forward and proved neutrinos exist and also
Yeah.
contains mass. And
Uh,
that's the moment where he said, wow, okay, that's the knowledge that I've been given. I should
mhm.
maybe tell this to somebody. And he started with four people, and four people turned into now like 45 million people working with human design worldwide.
Mm,
So it's really
wow.
interesting because he
Yeah.
shares in one of his audios that he did in the early days, he did a talk for scientists in Vienna, a UN gathering of scientists.
Hmm.
And yeah, of course, because he's not a scientist. I mean, he was a physics teacher, but he's not a scientist, right? So they
Hmm.
didn't really believe him. They're just like, okay, interesting, but yeah, not really. Not we're not gonna do anything with with this knowledge. And then
Yeah.
a year later, it was proven, and there was a Nobel Prize given for neutrinos. And one of the scientists that were in the room actually wrote him an email saying, "You were right all along." Thank you.
Wow. It's beautiful. It's like you know, the progression of our understanding of reality is moving in such a new direction, and I think there is so much that's coming to light around the nature of like quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and these neutrinos, which I'm not an expert in, but it's like these tiny, tiny packets of information and energy, right? At the quantum level, which contain entire blueprints of humanity and of soul design and all these things. And it's like all of this is actually intertwining with science. It's no longer just this new age out there concept. These people have been doing the work to do the research, and I don't know, from what I perceive, it's like this information is not necessarily coming out into the mainstream quite yet because I think that mm, there's a lot of agenda around keeping it hidden, right?
Yeah, yes and no. I think we're getting more and more ready for it. I mean, here in the
Mm.
Netherlands, there's actually a school that is using it.
Mm.
So it's
Oh
used
yeah.
as a tool for teachers,
Oh, I
for
love
these
that.
really hard to reach kids. So these are kids with multiple disabilities and yeah, so hard to reach and teach kids. And they use this
Nice.
system to really see, okay, in the chart, how can I help this child absorb information? Because that's what teaching essentially is, right?
Yeah.
How can you how can you give this information in a way that this child can actually absorb this? Some
Mm.
kids might need a more visual approach, others more
Yeah.
audio. Some kids do better if they're standing alone or they're sitting alone in a corner, whereas other kids thrive when they're in a group of two or three, right? So it's like,
Mm.
can you customize the way that you present the information based on the and the person you have in front of you?
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's one of the tools. So for me, and it's government, it's very hard to approve something here in the school system here in the
Mm.
Netherlands. So and this actually was started by a projector, and it's been rolled out into 16 different schools now in the district. So it's, for me, that's kind of like a sign, like it's a bottom-up approach of
Yeah.
how these very, well, you could say spiritual bodies of work
Mm.
actually become way more yeah, applicable in the business world
Mm.
as well. Yeah,
Yes. Oh, I love that. Everything from
yeah,
kids to adults and yeah, like you said, learning how to really, yeah, take care
yeah,
of yourself and be how to be yourself, how to be your true authentic self. I mean, that is
yeah.
what human design feels like at its core to me is helping us to authentically embody who we actually are. And there's so many wide streaming benefits of that when we start to embody ourselves. We just start to live with more energy, with more vitality, more confidence, more creativity, right? More meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And what I really, really liked about the way how Ra approached it was that he would say, "Don't trust me, you know, but test this knowledge for yourself. Like
Mm,
experiment with it, like make it your own. Like use the things that are relevant for you, and then don't
mm,
bother paying attention to the rest, right? Because you're on a
mm,
path, and not everything is relevant at the same time. So."
yeah,
Just experiment with it, play with it, experiment with it in your real life. And I think that's when a lot of people who are working with human design, there's a really good number of people who know about it and they might, have heard of it.
yeah.
And there's this big difference of like, okay, let me use this in a practical way. Let me actually embody it. Let me do something with this.
Mm.
And there's actually a movie made about this about the system and the origins of the system. Um,
Ah,
they
what's
interview
the
all these
movie?
people.
Yeah, what's the name of the film?
It's I don't know if that's the working title, but it's called 4%.
Mm.
It's still in the early days. They're going to do they finished some piece of it and they interviewed all these old people that are working, many of my
Mm.
teachers, because
Mm.
I'm a COVID baby in the human design space. But
Mm.
I learned and I sought out these teachers who've been in human design for like 30 years because I was so fascinated by the system and
Yeah.
I'm I love knowledge, so I just wanted to really dive deep into the knowledge. So I started seeking out these teachers who
Yeah.
worked with the system for more than 30 years and to really learn from their experience as well. So in the interview,
Mm.
they do a lot of, sorry, in the movie, they do a lot of interviews with about the early days of human design and how it came to be to the system that it's now.
So interesting. Yeah, it's such a vast reaching body of work. Yeah. So cool. I'll have to check out that film and perhaps I'll link it into the show notes if people are interested to learn more. Yeah. So, okay. So we're coming together. We're going to be, combining our medicines of embodiment work and your incredible knowledge of human design, which your teachings are already very embodied. You're someone who brings the what can be very heady information about this system right down to earth, right into the body for people. And your work is to teach people how to use their design in order to create positive impact in their lives, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And, we're going to be creating this immersion out in Portugal, and inviting people to come on in this experience to travel with us. I know you have been a traveler yourself for quite a few years. We met at this Nomad
Yes.
Fest. I'm just curious to hear, first of all, is travel like a part of your design, for if someone is when we're looking at lifestyle design, right? If we're wanting to become more of a nomad or if we're meant to be more stationary, like can that be influenced
Yes.
by our design? Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that and why travel has been such medicine for you.
Well, I think it comes down to, yes, you can see so many different things in the chart, right? I look at a G center when you think about travel. Open and undefined Gs tend to go to places that are always new, whereas the people with a defined G center actually return more often to places that they've been before. So
Oh,
that's one of the
I'm looking at mine right
differences.
now. I've got my chart open. I'm like, what is it? So yours is open. Okay.
No, I'm defined as well. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
defined.
mine is defined also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's so there's like all these subtle differences that when you think about travel. But I think for me,
Yeah.
travel comes down to being curious about the world, right? Like for
Yeah.
me, I've always been very fascinated by why do people do what they do? I mean, that's
Mm.
basically also when I was a marketer in my corporate career, like for me, that behavioral piece of, okay, humans are fascinating. Like, why do people do what they do? And for me,
Hmm.
travel is a way of seeing like, hey, what is normal life to you here? And then you travel to the next country and just like, oh, this is how normal life is for you. Like, it's so interesting to see that we're all so different, right? I just
Totally.
completed a journey and I went first to Japan. And Japan is such a fascinating country, but
Mm.
there's not a single piece of litter on the ground, right? It's super,
Mm.
super, super tidy. And then I went back to the Netherlands and then I went back to India. And in India, it's like complete chaos, right?
Yeah.
It's you see cows, milling to the trash, like trash
Yeah.
cows, which is super sad to see.
Trash cows.
But they're just, there's trash everywhere. And you
Mm.
think like, wow, we all have different norms and we all do
Mm.
life so differently. And that's also, for me,
Hmm.
a cultural conditioning is such a big theme, right? Because especially when you're navigating in the digital nomad world, you
Hmm.
meet with so many different people with so many different backgrounds.
Hmm.
to see like, hey, what is your cultural conditioning and what is, something that we all feel, like emotions. We all feel emotions, right? And
Yeah.
that's really for me, oh, travel is so fascinating.
Absolutely. It's such a door opener. I mean, it changes you. I feel like travel is one of those things that just it changes who you are at such a core level. It's the difference between reading a book about a place or reading a book about something and actually living it and going there and having the experience. There's nothing like lived experience to help us evolve and to change, and like you said, being in India, right? Living in this certain way, not having certain comforts, just having your eyes opened to what it's like to be the minority, right? To have
Yeah.
like your culture and your way of being just, completely you're like a speck in the ocean in this completely different way of being. And in that, so much curiosity. I think India is a great example of that. India is one of those places I feel is truly like untouchable in some ways by Western culture, at least some of the places that I've traveled. It's so wild. It's so Mama India. She's exactly how she is, and you have to be there. You have to just be with it. You're
Yeah.
not going to change it to make it what you want it to be. And I think travel just broadens our perspectives in that way. It's like it adds these new codes into our consciousness, right? Of like, yeah, these new traditions. And also, like you said, really tuning in with the shared human experience. We all feel the same emotions. We all have the same desires and needs deep down, and they just express themselves in different ways. But we're not different. And the rest of the world is not that scary. I think at least in my country, there's a lot of narrative around travel being so dangerous and going abroad, and people always telling me for 13 years I've been traveling like, "Oh, stay safe, isn't it scary traveling as a single woman?" And I always just tell them like I feel safer almost anywhere in the world than I do in like my hometown. I mean, God bless Federal Way, Washington, but like pretty sketch, a pretty sketchy place.
Yeah,
Um,
well, yeah, one of my first travel experiences, it was going to the States, right? I lived in the States, I lived in Arizona. I went to
yeah.
New York, and yeah, for me, it's indeed, right? Travel really changes us, but also, travel can be really small. Like for some people,
Mm.
it's just 1 week away.
Hmm.
And that can already have such an impact on their lives. So it's not just about going to all these different exotic
Yeah.
places, but if you think about transformative travel, if you will, you leave and you
Mm.
go on a hero journey or heroine journey.
Yes.
You, especially when you think about the transformation that happens when you go to a retreat, for example, that we're going to
Hmm.
host, right? You go and sometimes it's super scary because you have no idea what you signed up for, right? But
Mm.
something's you're gonna dedicate the time and energy
Yeah.
to really be focusing on yourself,
Yeah.
and you encounter other people on your journey as well. And sometimes the medicine that you get is just a conversation at a lunch table with another participant who shares a story that,
Mm.
rings a bell in your life, and just like, huh, I guess I can relate to that. Or,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's also my pattern, right? If that's also something that
Mm.
I encounter. So sometimes it's in the small moments. It's not just the big things. It's just all these small moments of,
Yeah.
wow, the magic happens in the cracks, right? And then you come back,
Yeah.
and then, you've changed, or there's a seed that's been planted, right? And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be that something grand happened on that trip, but there's a seed that's planted, and then over time that can flower into this beautiful, beautiful flower, that can give you a gift. Like,
Yes.
not to have so much stress anymore.
Yes, I love that. Like you said, it's getting out of your comfort zone, right? And there's often, I mean, you and I have both been participants of multiple retreats and immersions, being in other people's containers. And I think that that really at least for myself, that's really helped me understand what kind of container I want to create, right? Because we
Yeah.
learn as we go. But I find that there's often a moment at least or a small period of feeling quite uncomfortable because you are out of your comfort zone. And I can remember several times I've been in different immersions where I just wanted to run away right away, right? And I've had that experience also with participants in some of my retreats where just that discomfort can come up right away in the beginning of, oh, like I'm not in my own space, or I'm sharing a room with someone and that's new, or the food is different, or I'm not sure how to deal with the climate, and all these little things, it stretches us, right? So the idea is like you want to stretch and stretch, not until you break. You don't want to, push yourself over the edge in a way that's going to be harmful for you, but as long as the container is held safely, which it generally is, it allows you to stretch your comfort zone, and then you grow and expand into that. And like you said, then you end up going home with all of these new gifts. And sometimes people will go home from a retreat and then they actually feel like, wow, my current life, something feels a little bit small. Like I've grown. And then your work, it doesn't mean that you go home and you have to completely change your life. It doesn't mean you have to go home and move abroad and leave your job and leave your family, right? No, because we don't want that. But it means that you've stretched, you've grown. How do you take that into your current life? If you go back and you start to feel things are a little small, okay, where can you bring what you've developed in yourself and start to explore that, right? Through maybe building new relationships, getting involved in new things, starting to join a meditation group or yoga classes or whatever it is that you're feeling drawn to do, like bring that back into your life is the power of integration from transformational travel, right?
Yeah, you gotta nurture those seeds, right? If
Yeah.
you want them to become flowers, you gotta nurture those seeds after the
Mhm.
trip. And I think that's also what human design is such a powerful tool because it's not a quick fix, right? These things
Mm.
are never a quick fix. This is a huge body of work, and I still, I'm so many years in my own processes, and every time I learn new things, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's okay, right? It's a journey that you're going on to. And that's also, I think, for travel, yeah, it's a journey that you're stepping into. And that
Mm.
journey has a beginning and a middle and an end. And it has a preparation phase and it has an after phase. Like to have
Yeah.
all the memories of this trip, right? And especially if you're doing an overseas trip like Portugal is
Mm.
for most people, it's not the place that they call home, right? So we travel to this new country and then we go to this beautiful, beautiful place in nature. We're doing our retreat at the Pachawa Retreat Center. It's a beautiful place, and we're going to really connect with nature. And then you come back, and then you have all these memories, and these memories can help you
Mm.
um, kind of capture those moments that you experience as well, right? So for me,
Mm.
the magic of traveling, I mean, I've worked in the travel space, right? I worked in hospitality.
Mm.
I organized events
Mm.
pretty much for a long time. I did big incentive
Mhm.
groups and I did conferences. And so travel and events have always been intertwined for me as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, the magic of traveling, oh, there is
Yeah.
even
Oh.
that alone can be a journey.
Totally. Absolutely. It's like so many of these different elements brought together, right? Travel and then having a community, having a soul family, This is like one of the biggest takeaways I always remember after leading a retreat is that like just that the power of the place, the land, working with the land and the local culture and bringing people into this new environment, plus this soul family where we're here to be with each other, we're here to be authentic, to get to know one another, to share our experience. It's like that in itself is everything. And then the content of the retreat, the teachings, the workshops are just like the cherry on top, right?
Yeah.
And it's
And don't
yeah, it's
forget the food, the
and the
food.
food. Yes, that's going to be amazing. Yeah, if you go to the page of our websites, you'll see photos of just beautiful farm fresh, farm to table food. It's I don't know, there's something about being in Europe, but also like that region, the south of Europe, just the fresh, the abundant produce, the vegetables, the fresh breads and cheeses. It's just so pure, so from straight from the earth. So anyone from America, if you have not been over to Europe yet, you have not had real bread or real cheese. No, I guess if you're from like the Midwest, you probably had good cheese. But yes, there's incredible food awaiting and just nourishment, like nourishment at all levels. And I think that's ultimately what we're wanting to create with this space is a place to recharge your body, to realign with your design, to embody who you are, to be surrounded by a group of people who support and uplift you in being more of who you are, all of who you are. Like bring that to the world, right? We want you to light your fire and go spread that out there and nourish yourself, feel really vital and energized and whole and healthy and move your body and get the sunshine, and then go home and take this into your life. And it's important for us as well that our people feel supported before and after the retreat. So we give you a pre. This is exciting. People would get a,
Yeah.
a session with Astrid to really dive into their chart before coming, and I
Yeah.
think that's really key so that those who are new to human design will learn a little bit more. I mean, that already there's just so much value in having a private reading, and yeah, and having some tools to work with before they arrive. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, we have integration. We'll do integration sessions and have group integration. And yeah, it's a soul family that's created with every
Yeah.
retreat group. It's kind of for life.
And it's funny because I call these readings that I do before the retreat, I call them a map opening. And that's if you think about travel and maps, like I've been traveling before we had Google Maps, but it's like, you have this beautiful map towards back to yourself, right? If you
Mm,
know a little bit of these keywords and these themes and yeah, kind of like having this blueprint to guide yourself back to your deep
yeah.
down who you are in your inner world and to really, yeah, to fill you up with this knowledge beforehand. So in the
Yeah.
experience itself, we can experience it and be and of course we can geek out about, details and things like that, but actually that's the whole part of embodiment, right? It's
Mm,
to feel it in your body and to do
yeah.
these fun exercises and then combine that with yoga and breathwork and
Oh
everything that you
yeah.
offer in your world, right? And it's just like
Yeah.
it's just also have some fun with this body of
Mm,
knowledge. So yeah,
absolutely.
you don't need to have any prior human design knowledge, or you
Yeah.
could be there in there for like 25 years and you will
Hmm.
still get something else out of it because you always go deeper into your process and
Mm,
everybody will have a different experience in that sense.
hmm.
But really to learn to listen to your body and to honor
Yeah.
your body and to really start feeling like, wow, my body is telling me all these things.
Yeah.
And then take that with you to your normal daily life. I mean, that's such a fun way to
Yeah.
experience like, hey, my body is actually guiding me in my daily
Mm,
life, right? And now I can actually have some words for what I feel. I think
mm,
that's the most validating thing that you can get. And that's also what I hear back from a lot of people. Like, it gives me permission to be myself. It gives me the
mm,
validation to that I always felt what I felt and that I was correct, right? That I
mm.
did feel it, what I feel.
Yeah.
And that it's okay, that's allowed to be there.
Yeah. It comes from the body. I think that is, like you said, that's what we want to bring people into is our life force, our energy, our truth comes from our
Yeah.
body. It's never going to come from our mind. Our mind is here to help direct us through life and navigate, and problem solve a little bit, but our impulse comes from within. And when
Yeah.
you're plugged into that, you become unstoppable. You become a force, you know, in
Yeah.
the way that you're uniquely meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And also what I love about the system is that it's so plug and play with all the other systems out there, right? It's not,
Mm,
you can use Reiki and Qigong and human design
mm,
and, all astrology, breathwork. You
mhm.
can use all of those modalities together. It's not that, oh, human design is the one and only thing, right? No, no, no.
Yeah.
it's just a tool. It's not about the tool, it's about the outcome of the tool.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. Yeah, it's like anytime you hear people becoming a bit dogmatic about their system, it's a red flag, right? But we want to be, yeah, it's all about the implementation and the outcome.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I want to, give our people a nice little kind of bow on top of this beautiful conversation today. So I'm curious, is there like any last words of wisdom that you wish to share, or just anything that's been left unspoken about human design or your journey or our journey together in Portugal that's on your heart that wants to be shared? Yeah.
yeah, I think the most important thing is that everything has its own timing. So, for a lot of people, human design comes on their path multiple times before they actually get triggered into, okay, now I'm going to do something with it. So
Mm,
if you hear us talk about this system and if you hear us talk about this retreat and you feel that there is like a tingling sensation in your body
hmm.
saying, yes, I want to do something with it, whether you go to the retreat or just, dive into, listen to podcasts, different podcasts. I have a podcast as well, the
Mm,
Travel and Work with Human Design podcast, where Kristen was also a guest. So we recorded an episode there as well. But I interview also people who use it into their travel life, who use it into their business and their daily life. So human design will come on your path if you're open for it.
mm,
And it's up to you, right? Feel in your body if you
mm,
want to do something with it. If you're ready to kind of observe your mind and to really tackle those narratives of like the inner critic that's a little bit too loud sometimes.
mm,
And if you want to do something with those voices and come back to yourself and just experience life with more ease and flow, then, see it as an invitation. It's an
mm.
experiment, right?
Yeah.
And only you know how to do this experiment. You're the creator of your own world. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just have fun with it.
Yeah. I love that. It's about the fun. It's about enjoying and listening to your inner yes, right? Listening to the
Yes.
inner yes. I feel like that's
Yeah.
one of the big takeaways of human design in general is like listen to what feels aligned for you, right?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, it's been so wonderful having this conversation, and I'm so grateful to have this little gem of wisdom here for the podcast and for our future listeners. So those who have been with us through to the end here, thank you so much for your presence. And I'll put some links in the show notes, both to Astrid's information online and some places where people can access their chart to get some preliminary information about their own human design chart. And I think you said people can do that through your site as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And yes, there's so many information out there as well.
Mm,
There's books and there's podcasts. I mean, the information is out there. But then
mm,
again, yeah, right. It's all in good timing. Like you can
mm,
dive into the rabbit hole like I did and become a certified professional, right? Or
mm.
you can just take it one step at a time and just use it in a very small, practical way. So there's
Yeah.
no right or wrong in the whole system. There's no right or wrong. It's just what feels good for you in this moment in time. And that's it.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Well, Astrid, thank you so much for your sharing your wisdom and your presence here today. It's been so beautiful and energizing having this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, have a very good rest of your day for everybody who's listening. It's been a
Yeah,
joy.
we look forward to being in touch and for those who feel the call to perhaps see you in Portugal. All
All right.
right. Ciao, ciao.